Krishnamurti, in 1929, you broke with Theosophy, with the order that Annie Besant had set up. That's the conflict that I speak of. At least I think it was a conflict. Aha. So I've misunderstood. There was no choice?
Yeah.
But why? Why?
First of all, sir, if one really understands that truth is a pathless land, that no system, no guru, no authority can lead you to it, and there is an organization around you with thousands of members, property, money, oh, you have no idea what it's like, devotion, candles. And I said, that's totally wrong, the whole thing. So
Your given name is Krishnamurti. What does the name mean?
Murti means form. Krishna was a god, Hindu god, all of these images.
Yes.
That's all. Every eighth child is called Krishnamurti, I believe.
But in your case, being in the form or likeness of God was a call to a certain kind of destiny.
Sir, Dr. Besant and her group chose me. Dr. Besant adopted me. My brother and myself took us to England, put through college, the whole business of it.
You met the Lutyens there and all of this?
Yes. We lived with the so-called British aristocracy.
Yes.
And there were, in Holland we had 5,000 acres and a castle. Enormous affair. About 6,000 people used to turn up from all over the world to hear what I had to say. I saw how absurd all this was. Another sectarian group, there are enough sectarian groups all over.
You being revered as a great teacher.
Absolutely, prostration. Anything you want. And I said, this is all wrong. I said, abolish the whole thing. There were many politicians, prominent politicians in England, who say, you can't do this. You must hold on. This is meant to help you, serve people. I said, broke through all that. And you see, it has never been a conflict in my life. Nothing. Because I object to conflict.
But for a time, you did serve in that capacity. So at some point...
I was too young. I just repeated what they said. I was really rather immature and rather vague and rather moronic. But later on, one matures slowly. I happen to mature very slowly.
Did this come as a sudden revelation or a gradual unfolding?
No. From the very beginning, I said certain things, like authority, like fear. Don't follow anybody. Don't worship persons, including myself. That all is sentimental, romantic. It has nothing to do with the search of truth, or nothing to do with understanding yourself. You can understand yourself by watching yourself, not by following some philosophy or some guru, some system.
And so you renounced all of that?
I wouldn't use even renounce. That sounds rather something very special.
Well, so it seems to me.
I think so. If you see something very clearly, that some things are utterly destructive, you will walk away from it. You see, the idea of renouncing and sacrifice and conflict never existed. Not that I'm something special, but it is so in life. I used to know great many communists at one time.
Communists?
Can I talk about it in this country?
Of course.
a card-carrying communists in Holland, in England, and so on. They would go with me so far. I said, no authority. Either Lenin, Stalin, or no authority. They backed away from that. And there great many, I used to know some bishops and, all that kind of thing. I remember once in Stresa, Stresa, in Italy.
Yes, of course. And
Lago
you speak Italian.
Lago Maggiore. I was invited by one of the disciples or one of the leaders under Mussolini.
Yes. It was an authoritarian figure, certainly.
So they hired a big hall. And when I got up on the platform, there were all the cardinals and all the... So I said, I talked about authority. There should be no authority in spiritual matters. And they listened very quietly. I talked for about 40 minutes or so. Absolute silence. Next day, I was to continue series. There was one old lady sitting in the corner.
Just one, and you.
And a few friends of mine. This has happened everywhere where orthodoxy is very strong. Because humanity now follows somebody. In this country, there are the specialists.
Yes, and the cult of personality.
Oh, disgusting.
Well, it's certainly very misleading, even if one is not...
I think it's so destructive. Yes. That means you are merely following some of your own emotional stresses and your emotional...
projection that you're speaking of.
And they're not worth it, those people they follow.
We only discover that, though, apparently, by putting them up on that pedestal or elevating them to a position of power. Yes, of course.
He's the Frenchman who was a communist writer.
Yes.
I met him several times in France long ago. And he went to Moscow, thoroughly disillusioned, came back and wrote books. But he dragged with him, when he was a communist, great many. And later on he gave it up. They were stuck and he was free.
But all through the decade of the 1930s, there were a great many intelligent people who steeped themselves in those dogmas.
I think it is partly excitement, something new.
And partly, it would seem to me, distrust of self, because it is in those times of crisis that instead of turning inward and trusting ourselves, we look outward for some savior.
Yeah. This is what's happening in the countries where there is a great deal of disorder. They want somebody to lead them.
A Hitler?
I don't know if you know. Where there is disorder, that very disorder creates authority. Which is happening in this country.
And that would apply also to the model of the individual self,
of course,
where there is confusion.
Where there is, unless you put your house in order, your own house, the society cannot have an order. And it's so obvious what's happening in this country. Drugs, murder, 50,000 children are kidnapped every year. You follow all this. There's really confusion. And America is becoming she's leading the world.